So we're a semi-rural centre, and we have families that come from rural properties. So our vision is to ensure that children connect to nature and understand the risks, the whys, the hows, and can do all these things safely. So
yeah, beautiful. So it's about children having autonomy, children having choice and agency.
Listening to their voice all the time about what they want, and then moving our program in the way for them. And it's about the child and the development of the children. We're seeing less labelling and behavioural issues, and we're seeing more children going into learning and taking their learning a different way.
In relation to routines and structures and things like that, what does that look like?
So every day a group of children between the age of 2 to 5 year olds will attend bush. This means that they need to learn to get changed because we are a real bush environment, so they need to wear long sleeves and long pants and hats and be very sun smart. We then have to look at the environments that we're going into and making sure that it's safe for the children as well. But they take responsibility on this. So every morning from 9 till 11:30, 12 o'clock, our children are outdoors in the bush, climbing trees.
Yep. So they're learning to identify and to manage risk.
Flora and fauna. We have an Indigenous cultural educator that comes to visit and teach us the Indigenous culture and ways. So their reconciliation between the Indigenous culture and our Australian culture is getting more and more connected.
That sounds wonderful. It's a lovely vision to have.
So to start off with, it was educating myself and where our policies and procedures needed to be changed to meet the national quality standards. There wasn't actually areas in the standards, but there is now a handout of bush kindy information, which is where we've helped with Natureplay Queensland to get that implemented and a Victorian service. So that was really important for us. We then had to train all our staff because it's not just me, it's our team that runs this, and we had to balance the staff to make sure that they were all into that new questioning technique. We actually facilitate the children questions. We don't educate the children while we're out there. So again, that's a change in the way staff think.
Yes, because it is that play is often seen as frivolous, isn't it, and a waste of time, and understanding that so much learning is occurring for children during play, but even more so in those natural spaces and those environments where they're exploring and interacting with nature.
STEM, introducing STEM into our program, so getting the understanding of the maths, science and technology about their play, and it was actually happening every day.
Absolutely.
And our educators needed to be educated on that because it wasn't actually in their training. So again, we're
paying attention to that, noticing in that, and being able to help facilitate and extend on that.
And then educating our families, so and getting them up on the knowledge of the different ways we're educating their children.
No, that's wonderful. It sounds brilliant. So the biggest challenge was generally education, understanding around what you were doing, what you were trying to achieve. Were there any regulatory barriers that
every day there's a regulatory barrier because we do risky play, so introducing risk-benefit assessments that outweigh the risk, the old risk assessments. So that was very, very important. And then to educate ourselves so that we could then educate the Office of Early Childhood when they came out, so we could say, well, we've done this and this is how we teach our children. So they could justify meeting
that you were complying with the regulations and the standards and the law. So being able to articulate your practice. Really knowing your practice, being able to articulate it, and shifting from a simple risk assessment to a risk benefit analysis, so that you're actually weighing up both the benefits and not just focusing purely on the risks.
Yep, and that's right. And in our risk benefit assessment, we always ask the children's voice as well. So continually at this summit, we're talking about the children's voice. We're always asking the children. And one of our questions from our 3 educators here today have said, what more are we going to do to get the children's voice into our programs, into our risk benefit assessments, and into our everyday life, so that program is for them.
Yeah, so really valuing and listening to children, that's wonderful.
I think the biggest thing is going back to our childhoods and looking at what we did and understanding that children won't just hurt themselves because they want to.
Yes.
All this, there's still a lot of talk about we can't have things over certain heights, and I think there's a lot of false materials, and if people don't know the legislation well enough, they can't articulate themselves around that legislation to have objects above 1.8 or to have children climbing trees. So
that's a bit of recognising that children are confident and capable, and they're not deliberately encountering or taking unnecessary risks. It's about educators supporting children to identify and manage those risks, and programming and planning for manageable risks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we don't frivolously go out, let's run out and do, jump off the roof, but we're actually providing children reasonable opportunities so that they can in turn learn to manage risk. Otherwise, if we take all of the risk away, they don't have that opportunity, and that is when they actually can find themselves in dangerous situations and not know how to manage that.
It's definitely that. And also the amount of teamwork that comes. So taking 18 months to 5-year-olds, I have 45 children out there today together, 18 months to 5-year-olds, and seeing the leadership, seeing the leadership skills of those 5-year-olds, looking after those 2-year-olds, but then we take them all out separately as well, and seeing those 2-year-olds recreate the play by themselves and taking that little bit further that their team members in the kindergarten room did the other day.
So there's so much learning that's occurring,
The benefits way outlay any negative.
The role modelling, the negotiation, the cooperation, the empathy, the resilience and the persistence.
Is amazing. So just seeing children come back, we take them in a creek, they jump across logs, but coming back absolutely wet, walking, it's 900 metres back to the centre from the creek section, and they're all wet, but they just walk back, and they're resilient, they don't complain, they all help each other, they talk to each other, and it's just fun.
So real community and self-pride, accomplishment.
We're doing it.
Yes, and you're very happy with themselves and what they've achieved for the day.
If I don't go and my other forest school leaders and teachers go, they like to come back and say, we did this today.
Oh,
so
isn't that wonderful?
It's really, it's such a family there, and I'm just seeing so many different children changing for the better.
No, that sounds wonderful. It's lovely to hear from you, Debbie. And